Hey everybody, welcome to the Rustic South. How are you today? Hope you're doing well. Hey, today we're going to take a 24-inch Santa Claus from the Dollar Tree and we are going to make him primitive. Hopefully you're into that. Here he is on your screen. He turned out so adorable. So here is the Santa Claus that I got from Dollar Tree. $5, right? I did a bunny back from Dollar Tree during Easter time. So now we're going to do a Santa Claus. First you need to pick your fabric. And I tea stained it. You can see one side is tea stained, the other side is not. Okay. So now the fabric is, I don't know if I put this in here. It is 36 inches long by 24 inches wide, and it's doubled right here. Okay, I have it doubled under his body, and I am pinning where his neck hole will be in this fabric. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew along the top, and I'm going to leave that rough edge because I like the tea staining that happened along the edge. And that is 5.5 inches right there from where I'm going to leave the hole on one side. It's either it's 5 inches, not 5.5. So it's 5 inches. So if you do 5 inches on the other side, which I think my other side is a little bit longer, so I think the other side is like 6. So I leave a hole in there, so you have 5 and 6, 11, so approximately 5 or 6 inches for his neck hole or head hole, if you will, and for his nightgown or dress or whatever you want to call it. Okay. So here I'm doing this on the sewing machine, but if you're going to glue it, you could then glue it. But again, I'm leaving the rough edge exposed at the top because I like that, the coffee staining along the rough edge. Okay, and I'm also going to be leaving a rough edge along the side of, at the bottom, along the bottom portion of this outfit. Let's call it that. Okay, so here I put it on him, and we're just checking out the size, how it looks, if it was tight enough, too tight, not big enough, all that good stuff. And here I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to leave what I'm going to do with the hat and what I'm going to do with the beard and the mustache. Okay, so now I'm going to mark where I want the armholes to be. So the armholes are 1, 2, 3 inches. The sleeves or the armholes are going to be 3 inches deep. Okay, so there I took it over to the sewing machine and I sewed it 3 inches deep on both sides, and then I put it back on him to see how it fit. He looks very stiff, but he's not. I mean, it's not that tight. Okay, and then what I did was I went in and marked the fabric where I wanted to. I'm going to have the measurements here on the screen in a second. So here's where the bottom of his sleeve is going to be, and here I sewed down to a spot where I'm going to stop, which I think it's about 18 inches long from under his armhole down. And I left the bottom of the outfit open because I wanted it open down where his feet were. I did not want it completely sewn all the way down. So I promise the measurements are coming up here in just a second. So it's 8.5 inches long. The seam is coming from under his armpit. Okay. And I'm sorry I did not measure how far in I came for the sleeve. Did I? Yeah, well, they're 3 inches, they're 3 inches deep. So they're 3 inches deep, and then And then there's an 8-inch seam running down the side. And then when we're going to turn it, we're going to leave again the bottom of the outfit open with the raw seam on the top running along the outside of the top of the sleeve and the neck hole. Okay. But before you turn this, because I did this, it's very stiff in the corner, so you need to snip that corner before you turn it, okay? So turn it, and before you turn it, make sure you snip that corner so that it's not so tight in there, okay? And then you can turn it. So there is his little outfit. Now here we are going to remove some stuff that we do not want. We do not want. We're going to change. So here I took off his mustache, his nose, his beard. I even took off his eyes, his hat, and all the fringe around his sleeves. I took that off. I couldn't figure out if I was going to leave the hat on and just do fabric over it, but I decided that that's just not a good way to do it. To me, that was just going to be the easy way out, so I decided to take the hat off completely. And then I cut off the sleeve, the fringe around the sleeve. I did mess around a little bit with taking the glue off his face, but I have to tell you, you don't really have to worry about it because we're going to reattach, if you will, a beard. So it will hide. It will be hidden, so you don't really have to worry about it. So again, here in a minute, you might see that I clipped his eyes off. Okay, now these pieces here, these are the pieces I'm going to be making his hat out of, okay? So there are 4 pieces. When you cut his outfit out of that material, there will be 4 pieces left, right? Because the material was doubled. So I took those 4 pieces and I sewed them together. But these pieces are what, 2.5 inches? Yeah, so 2.5 inches by, I think it's 18. I'm sorry, I can't. No, 14. By 14 inches. So I sewed those 4 pieces together on my sewing machine. Now, if you're not sewing, that's fine. Just glue them together. Again, I opted to leave raw edges. Now here I say 14 inches by 10 inches wide, but that's after you sew it together. It's only 10 inches wide, okay? Here I opted to sew some raw edges to leave them on the outside of the hat because I like the coffee stained look of the raw edges. So if you wish to do that, make sure you pay attention to that when you're sewing or gluing your edges together. Okay? So we use that entire piece of fabric, okay? Those 4 pieces that were cut off from the outfit are now being sewn together or glued together for his hat. Okay? Here I'm just kind of pressing the seams a little bit. Make sure I get all of my material, if you will, for when we go to put the hat on his head. All right, now I'm going to coffee stain his head. He's a little too bright for my liking. And I started using a spray bottle, and this is the coffee stain recipe you'll find. And I did not put cinnamon in this one. I did not want cinnamon. So here you see me using a paintbrush finally because that squirt bottle was just not having it. It was not working to my advantage. So I decided to pour it in a bowl and use a paintbrush and blot it so that it wasn't so dark, right, and so wet. Again, don't worry about the glue that's on there because we will be hiding it with a new beard. Okay, so there you can see his head is is darker than the white that would be on his cuffs down by his shoes, okay? So you can definitely tell that there's a difference. That's the back of his head, so you know. Where that red is, that's where the hat was stuck. Okay, so coffee stain his head up and then blow dry it if you want. I mean, if you have time to spare, then don't worry about blow drying it. But if you would like it done quicker, feel free to get out the hair dryer and blow dry it. All right, so now I'm going to add a piece of trim to his hat, and this is a coffee stained tea towel that I had done a while back. I did a bunch of stuff, and I just cut off a 1-inch strip of the tea towel that I liked. Again, I like the parts that are dark and grungy, that have the edging on them. I like those pieces. So that's the piece I'm using for the rim around his stocking hat. And his hat looks excessively long, and you really don't have to keep it this long if you don't want to. I just found it to go with that old world Santa vibe. So I kept it long, and I also debated stuffing it, which I decided not to. I didn't like the look of it, so I did not stuff it. Okay. I was going to cut that part off, and I was like, you know what? I like the inconsistencies of things. So I left that little piece on there. It was just a little piece that drooped down, but not a big deal. So here we're closing it, and I'm closing it up near the back where one of the seams is. Again, I don't know if you can tell on the video, the edges of the hat right now are the raw edges that are coffee stained. The ones that are out right now. Those are the raw edges. So I sewed 2 seams with raw edges out and 2 seams with the raw edges turned in because they were the cut side from when we cut his outfit, and they just did not have enough coffee staining on them for me. So yeah, and you can find the recipe for coffee stain on my community page, which I think I'll go and give that to you now. It's like I did 6 teaspoons of instant coffee to half a cup of hot water. Okay, don't make it so hot that you're going to burn yourself. Okay, don't do that. See, here's the bottom of the outfit. I told you I left it open. I guess that's about 5 or 6 inches on the bottom that I left open. And now I'm fraying it because I want that frayed look. Although I wish it was coffee stained more, but it's not down there. But anyway, so I left the edges down there and the bottom. I frayed it really well, and now I'm just staining it up with my Distressed Oxide ink pad. And please, if you would, hit the subscribe button if you like the content, if you like what I'm creating, if you're having fun watching, if it's inspiring you to want to go craft today, I would so appreciate it. and hit the thumbs up button would be awesome too. I would very much appreciate it. I hope everybody's doing well. I know there's been a lot of stuff going on. I do live here in Florida, which in my section we did not get any of a hurricane, so that makes me happy that we didn't get any of it. It's so sad that the other areas got it, and a hard hit as they got is just unfathomable. So keep all of those people and their families in your thoughts as you go on your day. Now, I didn't go crazy doing this. I mean, you could go all day long doing this, right? But I didn't. I just did a little bit. And here I'm going to blow dry the fabric of his head. And again, you could make this as dark as you want. As far as the coffee goes, you could put it on, blow dry it, and if it's not dark enough for you, you could always put more. You could always put more on, right? This is the back side of his head. So that's if it looks a little odd. Okay, so here I decided I did not like the shape of his body, right? It's a little too chunky. A little too chunky. So I decided to take some of the stuffing out. I wanted him to be not as big. So I wanted him to look softer or more petite, I guess, in figure-wise. So I took some of the stuffing out. You can see how much I took out. I probably took out about a fourth to, I don't know, a half of what was in there. And here I'm turning up the cuffs on his sleeves, but I end up taking those out and putting some twine around. I think I take those out. I take some twine and I'm going to grunge it up with the ink pad. And I think I take those cuffs back down and just tie some twine around the ends of the sleeve. So yeah, I'm taking the twine and I'm rubbing it on my ink pad just to darken it up some, right? Yeah, wear your gloves because this, you see me wiping that on there. It's like, what's the big, I mean, why not? If I have leftover on my gloves, I might as well wipe it on him because the grungier some of my stuff is the better, at least for me, right? And if you're watching this, you probably like grungy too. So make sure to put those gloves on because this ink can get all over your hands and just not look nice. So make sure you put your gloves on. No, here, so I take them off because they ended up being annoying to me, and now I'm going to get the black all over my hands because it's all over the rope. And I did not measure them. I cut them fairly short. Yeah, so there I take them down, the cuffs down. But you can do cuffs if you don't want to put twine or anything around the cuffs of his sleeve. And I do end up gluing, which I don't know if I have it on video. I do end up gluing the neck hole around his neck because I did not want any of that red to show. But once you get the beard on him, it really won't show, right? And just a word before we get to the end part. I do give him like he's holding a chain of like beads with a star in the middle of it. But it would be really cute if you made something like a little bear, or if you have a little toy bear that's, you know, the right size to put with him, or like maybe a bag of little toys, or a little tree of sorts, maybe in his hand or something. Um, so here I'm going to do another. I don't know why I'm doing it on this pink, because it's not gonna, no. If you want to do some other kind of embellishments on the end rather than the string of beads, or yeah, beads or ornament type beads for like a tree is what I have him holding. So if you didn't want to do that and wanted to do something else, these are just some ideas I'm giving you as to what you might you know, want to do with yours. And I do hope I made it clear in the beginning all the different sizes. I will go back and make sure that I have all of those sizes included before I post the video. Here I'm kind of toning down the black a little bit, and this is going to be his belt. I made it long enough that I think I wrapped it around him around, like 3 times. Okay. He still looks kind of wide. He's wider than I like. And I really wish his waistband was a little lower, so I kind of did move it down further than where his original belt was maybe when I got him. But I wanted his waistband to be a little lower, and I wanted to make his outfit a little more poofy along the top of the belt. So I don't think you see me do it here, but I do pull it out a little bit on the sides. And yeah, here you see me doing it. I pull it up a little bit so it's a little not so tight, I guess. It is kind of a long video today. I apologize for that, but I didn't want to speed through this. Hopefully you can find these Santa Clauses from the Dollar Tree. I just got it like Monday of last week, or Tuesday, something like that. I don't know, one day last week I got it. And they didn't have a bunch of them. They had a few. There was not an abundance of them. So if you're going to make this, I would find one quickly. Here we're going to do his nose. And I do make a mistake here in the beginning, and I'm going to leave it in here and show you. So what I did was I took that dark embroidery thread and I threaded it on a needle. I double threaded it, okay, so that you have double thread. And I'm poking, I come in from the, that's why I left his hat off. So I poke it in from the underside and I came out, and see, now I'm looping it through the other side on the top side, and I do not want that. That is not the way we want his nose to look. We want his nose to be defined, but we do not want it to be defined while seeing the embroidery thread. Okay, so I'm going to be cutting this off because I could not get it out without cutting it. So I pull out the knot and I cut it off, and we restart this again. Okay, so we have to re-knot it again. All right, so let's re-knot our thread again here. Now we're going to start this again. You're going to start it again. You're going to put the needle in through the head just like I did the first time, and you're going to come out. Okay, but what you're going to do is you're going to poke it back in very close, but not in the same hole that you came in through, and go down. And when you go down, you're going to try to grab up some of that stuffing and pull it. You're going to do the same thing on the other side. You come out and you go back in on the other side near the hole that you came out. At the same time, trying to grab fluff on the bottom side, and then going to the other side, coming out, and then going in very near the hole that you just came out. And here I'm squeezing it because I want to know exactly where my nose is going to be. So here I'm now squeezing it, but I am still pulling fluff up. And I'm holding this thread really tight. I mean, you probably don't have to really hold it as tight as I am. But we did this same exact nose in one of my other videos, the fat cat, or the grungy fat cat video, I think. I did this exact same nose on that cat. So it is easy to do, but you just don't want to see the thread. Okay, so you're only putting the thread is only on the sides of the nose, and you are hiding it on the inside, all while making a nose visible, okay, on the outside. So as you go down, make your stitches a little wider. You go, down near the bottom of the nose, it's a little wider. So go a little wider, but just know how far down you're going. And no, I do not know how long I made the nose. I just went down to a spot that seemed near where I would, stop and then put the beard just like right up under it, right? So just kind of gauge it. I do not know how long the nose is. I would say it's probably, I really have no idea. I would say maybe an inch and a half, maybe 2 inches. I don't really know. So you can see there's now a nose there. There's a bridge, and then there's a nose, and then we're going to poke it back in, and we're going to come up, and we're going to now sew some eyebrows. Okay, now those we will be having on the outside. I was debating whether to do the same kind of thing, make like a eyebrow that looks kind of like a nose, but I really think I wanted the thread to be seen, so I'm just doing a short stitch back and forth to make the eyebrows. Okay, and I did remove the eyes that came on him earlier, which I did not show you, but I did take them off. So we're going to poke it down, and I'm going to come out the other side to make the other eyebrow, okay? You're going to do the same thing, in and out. Just short stitches for his eyebrow. I think I did like 3 or 4 stitches on each side. Then I actually think that I decide to go down and make eyes, because at this point I couldn't figure out if I was going to put the beads back on for his eyes or if I was going to sew eyes. So I actually went down and came out and started to sew some eyes. See, there's the beads. They're a little larger than I wanted, really. I really would have liked to have smaller ones, but I didn't have any, so I went ahead and used them. But I did go ahead, and you see me sewing some eyes here, but you don't need to do this part. You can just go down to where the eye is going to be and put your bead on. And I tried to indent it a little bit, which I probably would have had to gone from the back of the head to make them kind of indented and not so surface high, if that makes any sense to you guys. So I think here's where I put the bead on. So look what I just did. Like, duh. I was like, are you kidding me? What are you doing? Oh my goodness. See, I couldn't get it out. This is another instance where I could not get the thread to come out. I was so aggravated. So I didn't want to rip a hole, so I ended up cutting the string and then tying a knot, and then I rethreaded I tied another knot, and then I put the bead on. So I have bead on one side now, and now we're going through to the other side. I'm using a really big needle, and this thread and this fabric is very tight. It's so hard to get my needle in it, but I'm using a really large needle. So anyway, so I'm telling you, you may not need to take the eyes off of him in the beginning. You could probably leave them on and then do the nose and the eyebrows and leave the eyes on it from the beginning, okay? I guess is my point here. I wanted a little more definition on the eyes than what the embroidery thread was giving me. So that's why I added them back. You do see me poking it out because I think I go through the center of the or the hole in the bead, I think, a couple of times. So I think you'll see me do it again. Yeah. So I'm going in it again. I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing, what I want to do here. I was still trying to figure out if I wanted to make his eyes deeper. And I decided not to mess with it. So I think I stick it through the bead and go back down in, and then I pull it out the top. Then you can cut off your needle and tie it up. Just tie it up. And I'm so sorry because my camera sits pretty high up, but this 24-inch doll is really difficult to get it in frame standing up. So every time I try to stand him up, it's like right at where my camera is. I guess my camera is about probably 27, 28 inches above me, but I really measured it. But with making these dolls, it's kind of too close. And so poke your thread back in or just hide it. You don't need to worry about hiding it. He looks like a football player because of the shape of the character, but we'll make do with it. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. So I took some of the stuffing out to lessen some of that body. Okay, so find the back of your hat. Here I'm just kind of test running the hat. Test running the hat to see how tight it was going to be and where, if I was going to glue it or not. So here I am pushing it on. I'm also pushing his head up a little bit to make his head a little less oval-ish. But again, don't worry about that either because you're going to add a beard. Unless you don't, you could leave it without a beard. You could certainly leave it without a beard. Then you could certainly add some dried cinnamon to his face to give it more of a grungy look, right? You can even add cinnamon to his outfit, right? So there's his face. It turned out well. Okay, so here we go with the beard. So oddly enough, I take the stuffing that I pulled out of his body and I'm now going to use it as his beard. And I did not color it. I was contemplating coloring it brown, but I decided to leave it white because I actually like the look of it, and it just reminds me more of Santa Claus with the white beard rather than a brown beard. So I left it white, and I'm just And, you know, oddly enough, I mean, the stuffing that came out of him is it's sticking together so well. I mean, it's so fibrous. So it's sticking together so well that I don't need to glue anything but just right along his under his nose. I don't need to glue that to his outfit or anything. It's just staying together again because of the fibers. So you don't really need to worry about it, right? And then I'm going to glue around uh, his head where I have the rest of it. I'm going to put a little bit of glue along the hairline so you can glue that down. Okay, all the way around the head. I'm going to put glue. And you know, his hat is so tight on his head that I do not even have to glue the hat on. So I did not glue my hat down. I did not glue my hat down, but if you want to glue his hat down, see, here's the finished face on the left with the hat, and then we are gluing it down. Just around the hairline again. I did not have to. I did not have to put any more glue anywhere else to help keep his hair and beard intact. Okay, so again, this is stuffing that came out of his body that I'm using for his hair and beard. Okay. Again, if you wanted to, you could color his hair and beard. All you have to do is put on some gloves, take your stuffing, and put a little paint in your hands, and paint and rub it together, right? Rub your hands together with the stuffing in it, and then the brown will come off. And you may need to put some water, you know, to make it a little more liquidy. Okay, so here I go. I'm putting, and you can see the stick sticking out of his head from the frame. My cat's in here if you hear her. So yeah, so make sure. So at this point I'm going to put his hat on, and I decide that it's tight enough that I do not need to even glue it on his head. So I'm going to squish his head up in there. Squish his head up in there. It's tight. I mean, it's not super duper tight, but it's tight enough that it stays on and it does not, you know, I pull it down pretty far on the back of his head so that it has some grip there, right? So you pull it down pretty far on the back of the head and stuff it up on the sides, push up the sides in there, and it's not going to go anywhere. It is, I still haven't glued it, and I finished him on yesterday. So he's still not glued. The hat is still not glued, but it's staying on just fine, no big deal. So, and just another word about his outfit. If you don't want to leave any openings along the bottom like I did, just in case you happen to see the red of his pants in there, for some reason, you could go ahead and sew it all the way down. I just elected not to, okay? So here's his long bonnet. And I just took another piece of ink stained jute and tied a little knot like I did around his sleeves and the bottom of his bonnet. Okay, so so here I take one of my thicker needles, and here I'm putting an acorn. It's a styrofoam acorn from, I don't know if it's Dollar Tree or Hobby Lobby, but it was in my stash. And then I have a bunch of beads that I have Just a bunch of different colors, different sizes that I'm now going to add on there. And then I decided I was going to use the wooden stars that you see there, but then I decided I thought that red one is a foam red star that I got from Dollar Tree during, I would say, the 4th of July time frame. Because they had a bunch of like star confetti, and I used it in another project that we had done. So I decided I liked the puffiness, and I had already darkened it with some red, some dark red and some black, and dull, and it was a glitter star. So, but anyway, if you don't have that, you could do something else, right? You could put anything on there. You could put a little tree on there. You could put a snowflake. You could put leaves. Okay, here's another acorn for the other end of the bead. And I did not count these. I did not do anything methodical. I didn't even measure the length of the jute I'm using. Okay, so I did nothing. Nothing here was methodically thought out. It was just how did I want to embellish him. Okay. So there he is, actually, with no beads, right? So this is before we put the beads on him. And see, his nose actually turned out really, really well, right? So hope you guys have good luck with doing the nose. He turns out really cute. I have him sitting in my entryway right now because he doesn't scream Christmas because he's not red. He doesn't have anything on him that looks like Christmas, so he doesn't scream Christmas yet. So yeah, so I mean, he doesn't necessarily have to be Santa Claus. He could just be an old world gentleman. Forgive my name. Forgive me. I don't really know exactly what they would call him, but he looks like a primitive, maybe a wise man or something like that, right? So I just like the look. I like the dress. So there's the finished one on the left with the bead garland I have him holding, and here we are putting it together. Okay. So again, you can change this up, do what you wish, and I changed this beading around like 6 times. I played with it until I got it the way I wanted it, because I was trying to pull his hands in so it wouldn't look like he was so big, so wide, right? Because of his body structure. So I was trying to pull his hands in. I was even going to glue the star to his hands so he held it in the middle, but I decided I didn't want to do that either in case I wanted to change it. So I opted not to do that. So what I was still trying to pull his arms in. So that's the reason for the long garland, was to control his arms while still giving him something to hold. Right? So here, see, that's where I was thinking about, I could just put it in the middle and he could hold it. But then I was like, no, I don't really want to put glue on his hands or his outfit at this time. So I did not. Okay. I apologize for this view not being the best. But again, he's so tall. And these, you cannot beat this project from the Dollar Tree for $5. I mean, I had the fabric, I had everything else at the house, so you cannot beat this craft for only $5. And they had Mrs. Claus too, I believe. But and then they had elves, and then they had, I don't know what else they had, to be honest with you. They had a few other ones there. So here's a close-up of the beading that's hanging from him. And then I put an acorn on the other end. And here I have him next to a tree that I leave out in my entryway all year long. and he just turned out awesome. I hope you guys will give it a try, and if you do, please let me know. I would so love to know if you guys made it. Now that I look at him, he does look like a wise man, right? So anyway, I hope you guys love this project. I had a lot of fun making it. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments. I will be happy to help you. And may you have a wonderful rest of this week. See you next time.